This is TWiT.
There was just a huge upset in any industry that touched the memory market. This last year has been exceptionally difficult for a lot of manufacturers. AMD is still suffering from this on their graphics side. And that was that there was a transition. We've all heard of effects of this transition, a transition from 2D NAND to 3D NAND, and that killed supplies. Can you talk a little bit about that? What was the problem?
Sure. It was really, it boiled down to a yield issue. We started seeing the allocation process really in May of about 2016, and that's when we went from the MLC, the 2D MLC, to 3D NAND. If you're a semiconductor and you can make that same size wafer thinner and cut it up into smaller parts and sell that same wafer with a lot, with a lot more NAND availability on it, you're getting a lot more profit. So that's what drove the 2D to 3D conversion. What happened was the conversion was slow. The yields were just not there. And it created this situation where everything was allocated. There was a shortage of NAND Flash to go around. And finally, after, 19 months, 18, 19 months, we're coming out of it now. If you're a consumer, if you're buying an SSD, you noticed the price go up.
Right. And some of the larger manufacturers had long-tailed agreements that kind of kept them not flush, but at least operating. I know Kingston, you really kind of stretched out your allotment there for a while. But what was it that caused the glut? Because, I mean, I remember when we started talking about this transition 4 years ago, there was, well, it's going to happen gradually. You're going to see one factory move over, and then the next factory will see the lessons learned from that factory, and they'll move over. And we had a glut of NAND. There was so much NAND on the market. It was just getting dumped. I mean, it was cheap. And then suddenly it seemed like the supply just dried up overnight. Was it factories kind of realizing they're about to hit their 3D, and we haven't even started our transition. We better move it.
Yeah, I think there's a couple of things. I think, sorry, Cameron. I think one thing is consolidation in the industry. There used to be a lot more manufacturers of NAND Flash. We're really down to 3 to 4 major players, and you've got some smaller companies to it. I think a lot of that is due to consolidation. I think, Cameron, you were going to say.
Yeah, I think one of the big things in this, from a technical perspective, the transition from 2D to 3D was a big deal. It wasn't like we were going from 20 nanometer to 15 nanometer flash. We were going to a completely different process, and what that caused was these handful or 3 or 4 fabs output production to be compromised while they were trying to develop 3D. And I think what a lot of people don't understand is the worldwide consumption of NAND Flash is incredible. It's not only in SSDs, it's in iPads, it's in iPhones, tablets. And so when you've got a worldwide demand like that, and you put a ripple into the output and the supply, you don't want that to go on for a very long time. Otherwise, you've got a lot of issues in regards to being able to deliver products and so forth. So that's kind of what happened. We had this lengthy transition because it was so different from 2D to 3D. And so our outputs dropped, but the worldwide demand was still very, very high. So we went into this very long period of allocation and short supply. Now we've got 3D NAND yields doing very, very well. Now we've got a lot of NAND in the marketplace, and we're seeing a lot of good things in terms of supply, in terms of prices coming down. So at this point in time, the future looks very good for supplying not only the SSD manufacturers with NAND Flash, but also other devices that take NAND as well.
Right. And that's actually one of the things that we learned during the supply constraint, and that is how many parts of the industry really do rely on a steady flow of NAND memory. It's just, I mean, it's everything from, again, graphics cards to personal media devices.